Witchcraft for Sale by Doris Lessing. No Witchcraft for Sale tells the story of the Farquhar family who live in South Africa, live on a wealthy farm, and have many native servants who attend to their needs. The story is mainly focused around the life of their son, Teddy. As the story begins, they depict the Farquhar's time before Teddy as childless. They were touched by the pleasure of their servants, who brought eggs and other gifts when they was finally born to rejoice over the child. This shows how the natives did not resent their former masters for enslaving them, and they were willing to accept the misunderstanding and move on. The beginning of the story is bright, many gifts, congratulations, great thing, warm, grateful, smile, a lot of jargon that suggests that things were happy. As the story continues, time progresses, and the child, Teddy, grows older, his first haircut, and a new character is introduced, Gideon the cook. He would pick on his soft gold tufts from the ground and hold them reverently in his hair. All this jargon suggests that they would have a good relationship. Gideon, who was assumed from picking up the soft gold tufts, gave his first haircut and reverently picked them up in his hand, who then smiled at the boy. This suggests that they had a good relationship and that times were enjoyable in this household. They would play with curious forms of toys from twigs, leaves, and grass, shaping animals from wetted soil. So this is going back, Gideon bringing part of his culture into Teddy and helping him learn and play with the world around him. Gideon was also present when Teddy learned to walk. So he's been throughout his whole childhood, and he's known him for the majority of his life. Well, all of his life, actually. No second baby came. This emphasizes more on the relationship between Gideon and Teddy as there's something to divide his attentions. And it even states, Gideon quotes, Mrs., the Lord above has sent this one. Little Yellowhead, the name that Gideon calls Teddy, is the most good thing we have in our house. The use of we in this sentence suggests how he feels like they're one house and they're no longer divided based on their skin color, further reinforcing the point of good times and happiness inside the household. Further along in the story, it's noted Teddy seeing the first black child, describing his actions as curious to see how this child who was different from him acted. Gideon sees this and is encouraged by it. He feels as if they'll grow up to be friends, and he's a statement, Mrs. These are both children, and one will grow up to be base and the other servant. He understands that they're never going to be equals, but he does not imply that one will be superior. He only implies that they will have different roles. A few years later, when Teddy is 6, he was given a scooter, further reinforcing that they're a wealthy family with much material goods. He loves it. He rides around. He has an incredible time until he sees another one of the African children. He commences to race in circles around the black child until he was frightened and fled back into the bush. Gideon was not pleased with this and demands, why did you frighten him? Teddy is quite not ashamed of his actions, stating defiantly, he's only a black boy, and laughed. Gideon then realized what he would grow up to be and turned away from him without speaking. This shows how, despite being raised among black people, Teddy, he still feels as if he has some element of superiority to them, and a rift begins to grow between Gideon and Teddy over a few years. Gideon no longer let his flesh touch the flesh of the white child. He was kind, but there was formality. that made Teddy pout and sulk. The feeling in their relationship has died, and now it's one purely between servant and master. And this upsets Teddy, as stated in that he pouts and sulks. He was polite and carried himself formally, further reinforcing the rift between him and Gideon. If he came in the kitchen, it was asked for something the way a white man uses towards a servant, and not a friend. However, time progresses, and one day Teddy comes running into the kitchen with his fist in his eyes in pain. This is a crisis event that's going to greatly change the relationships. He describes the accident as a snake that had spewed venom into his eyes, and his mother comes in sobbing that he'll go blind, and begs Gideon, can you do something? Gideon thinks, and then says, and I quote, "Wait a minute, missus, I'll get some medicine," and he runs off into the bush. This is going to establish the plot in the future by showing the value that these people have that the whites do not possess. Gideon soon returns, and he has a plant in his hands, which he commences to chew the plant up in his mouth vigorously, and spit the polyjuice into his eyes and forcefully rub it in. He then assures Mrs. Farquhar that his eyes will improve. However, she was incredibly doubtful. However, after time, his eyes do improve. And this shows the potential that the Africans have in their bush plants. Things return to normal, and the relationship between Gideon and Teddy improves. Things go back the way they were before the incident with the scooter. And the story is told over and over again about this new wonder plant that had cured his eyes, and word begins to get out. One day, a man stepped out with a chemist from the big city, drove up to their estate, and stepped out with a case full of test tubes and chemicals. This indicates a dark turn in the story in which large imperialistic countries are trying to take away this African man's resources and secrets. This symbolizes large imperialistic countries such as Britain, Germany, France coming into Africa and taking away their resources so they could benefit from themselves. The Farquhars, they're not sure how to deal with this. They show them respect. However, Gideon is afraid, did not understand why they would do this to him. He knows why this man wants it. He does not want it because of the wonderful thing he had done to Teddy's eyes. He's aware that this is purely a profitable move on their part. He's just trying to make a buck. He asks, the big boss wants to know what medicine I use. He states this as if he could not believe his old friends could betray him so. This shows that the relationship had returned after the scooter incident. However, it is now greatly detrimented due to this, as the word betray is in there, has a great negative connotation. So after hours and hours of protesting and refusal, Gideon finally submits. However, he has one final trick up his sleeve. He takes them out walking in single file away from the homestead on a carved path. It was a December afternoon. In the southern hemisphere, this is summer, and the sky was full of hot rain clouds. Everything was hot. He's attempting to use just in the way that the Africans resisted the imperialistic nations, they had to use their knowledge of the terrain and the land to outmaneuver them and wear them down, make these imperialistic countries want to leave and not be there anymore, make it too much trouble for the profit that they're going to make. And at 6 miles away from the house, he decides that he's worn them down enough. They've had their fill. grabs a blue flower that had been growing plentifully all along the path they had come. This is an attempt to deceive these large nations, and he's trying to get them to think they're counterfeit and that they don't hold any profit, so they'll leave and not return. So they leave, go back to the house. The scientist thanks Gideon, is very polite, and as time progresses, the relationship between the Farquhars and Gideon, it improves, and it becomes more of a joke of, when are you going to show us the snake root, Gideon? And he would laugh, shake his head, and say, but I did show you, Mrs. Have you forgotten? And this would go on as Teddy ages. He becomes a schoolboy, and Gideon, he understands what Teddy will grow into. So he's trying to have as much of a relationship with his boy as he can. And the final line is, "Ah, little yellowhead, you have grown. Soon you will grow with a farm of your own." And this shows how he is aware of what Teddy will grow into and what he will grow into be. And he understands that he cannot stop it, so he's simply trying to make as good of an impression on the boy as he can. Jackson Burns, and I will be analyzing the song you just listened to, written by yours truly. The song begins with a very bright D note, followed by a G, and then an A. Now these signify the happier times while Teddy was born and as he's growing up, and the presence of only bass signifies how not individual events were picked out. Now when the guitar picks up about one beat before the tone changes, this shows the one incident with the haircut. However, once the tone changes to the F and the open A, this signifies the incident with Teddy and his scooter, and how he frightens the young black child, and he's only a black child, so it didn't really make an impression on him. This creates a rift between Gideon and Teddy, and is only exemplified as he grows older and treats Gideon with more of a masterful, and Gideon more of a servant. And the friendship between them, it dies. However, when Teddy's eyes are poisoned by the snake, and Gideon heals them, the relationship, it becomes good, and the relationship improves. And tales of Gideon's heroism spread throughout the community. And this is exemplified in the happier tone returning. However, once the chemist from the big city comes, who represents large imperialistic nations, coming to overbear and overpower smaller, weaker nations for their resources, this is illustrated in the presence of a low E, the the presence of this F, which is already an established darker tone in this song. These are dark, heavy notes in comparison with the high E right here. These notes represent strength and the deep influence that these imperialistic nations have when they come in and they desire resources. However, when the song hits the F here, it's a slightly higher note, and this shows Gideon's weak defense and the defense of African nations to the assault of the imperialistic nations. However, it's overall not successful. However, they do have a single trick that does save them, because after the F, it goes back to the low E, the G, goes back to the low E, the F again, and back to the E. But then it goes to the G here, and it stays there as Gideon is leading them down the path, and he picks up the flower and misleads the scientist. And after this, he leaves and assumes that the plant that healed his eyes were fraudulent, and then things begin to go back to the way they were before the chemist came, and they even make the joke is made out of the incident with the chemist. And this is exemplified by the return of the happier notes. This continues until the song ends, and it shows how the relationship between Teddy and Gideon, it grows back together after this incident, and they continue on their lives.